Hey, my name is Chris. In my last video, I shared some of my thoughts on the latest Deadlock update. I'm not going to say you need to watch that video to understand this one, even though you should, because who wouldn't want to listen to more of my amazing voice. But on a more serious note, I want to go over some of the stuff I missed, and most importantly, I want to go over what Valve has next in store for Deadlock. Now I know we just got the largest update this game has ever seen, but Valve has caught a wave here. And I really want to know, how are they going to ride this out? With Deadlock reaching a new peak since the sudden rise and crash last year, most of the gaming scene never saw the very low swing from early to mid 2025. Reaching player counts as low as 6,000, Deadlock was really in a sink or swim situation with this update. And I'll tell you what, they definitely did not sink. But where does Valve go from here? If you have spent any time in the Deadlock community, I have no doubt you have seen many leaks. But as a refresher, let me just go over everything that is probably or very likely to come to the game. At least two close to complete heroes, Boho and Venator, who was previously known as Priest, the heroes known as Druid, Fortuna, Incubus, Succubus, Graph, Swan, Skyrunner, and TV Spirit. New lane tower designs and overall art passes, a leveling and hero progression system, as well as a challenge system are being developed. New game modes are at least being worked on, specifically an escort/payload game mode. Jungle creep and mid-boss redesigns are inevitable. A much older leak suggests a plant monster theming, but this very well could have already changed course. And visual novels are being actively developed for Geist, Holiday, Ivy, and Infernus. That's about all we know that Valve is concretely cooking at headquarters right now. Valve is notorious for just changing their mind randomly sometimes, and who knows, maybe all this could get thrown out of the window one day because Yoshi just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and decided he really hated all of the new heroes. Speaking of which, the Hero Lab heroes appear to be MIA at the moment, and several sources are saying that Yoshi has decided to put them on ice for the time being. I think this is very fair, all things considered, since most of them seemed very unfinished and poorly thought out design-wise. Even if I am still in love with all of their lore and theming, they just aren't ready to see the light of day yet. It appears that for some of the new heroes, such as Paige, they recycled a lot of the elements from the Hero Lab's heroes, so it is very possible that they have simply transformed into new heroes. I think a question that has been not exactly burning, but just sitting in the back of everyone's mind ever since the first playtest launched is, how is Valve going to monetize this game? It doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to say skins, but how this content is delivered and in what way it takes shape could be very interesting. Valve has the chance to do something great, revolutionary even. Deadlock could easily be one of, if not maybe the biggest esports release of the decade. How Valve chooses to monetize this game could set a precedent for future games for years to come. I mean, look at Dota. Valve invented the Battle Pass, and now over 10 years later, every fucking game has its own damn Battle Pass. Who knows though? We will see, and whatever it is, I will probably just be a sucker anyway and pony up the cash for some shitty Abrams skin and Fortnite emote. Another big question for Deadlock is, could we be seeing an open beta sometime soon? I saw quite a lot of people wondering if this means we are close to a public outing of Valve's shiny new product. Yoshi heard these concerns on the Discord and actually responded, saying, "We aren't sure yet. We are mainly just taking things one step at a time and building the game out based on feedback from players, which has been very helpful. The entire team is very thankful for all the input players have been providing." Now, in usual Yoshi fashion, this is incredibly vague and leaves a lot to the imagination. But this still could mean either an open beta is farther down the road, or Valve simply doesn't plan on it at all, and we could be seeing somewhat of a cold release, with Valve coasting off the popularity and infamy of gaming's worst kept secret. If you were to ask me, personally, what I think Valve has in store before we see an open beta or release, I would say we still probably see one more major map iteration, a total jungle and objective design overhaul, somewhere around 8 more heroes to round out the count to about 40 or so, at least 4 finished visual novels, at least 1 alternate game mode, probably some kind of escort mode, but I can imagine the potential for an ARAM mode or some kind of alternate welcome mat game mode like in PvZ Garden Warfare, some kind of progression system, and a more thorough, polished tutorial. If you just want to know my thoughts on that, you can go ahead and click off the video. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the 3 heroes I didn't get a chance to in my last video. For Paige, I'm not really a fan of her design and character, but I've seen other people say they like it, so I'm not really going to talk on it because I don't have much constructive to say. I think Paige's gameplay and kit are pretty well made. It seems to me like she is a more coherent version of Trapper if you played him when he was still playable. She seems like a pretty bog standard support. Her AoE stun seems kind of cancer and will probably be really annoying when players get better at her and at abusing it. The barrier is a nice change of pace from a token heal ability instead having a more offensive potential. The dragon book seems fine, I guess. It's basically if you duct tape Kelvin Snowball to an Ivy Kudzu, which isn't my favorite, but the mechanics are interesting and fun, so I still like it. Honestly, my favorite part of Paige's kit is her global ult. It seems really cool, and I can't wait to see what creative lineups people can come up with to use it, especially in pro play. Overall, she probably won't be very good for pubs, but with a coordinated team or in pro play, she will probably be stupid busted. Not first pick ban material, but will definitely be up there. It's nice that there's at least one competitor to Kelvin now when it comes to raw support. Next up is Drifter. Design wise, he is amazing. His voiceover has to be one of the best in the game. It really sells him as a magnificent bastard in such an endearing way. I didn't know I needed a smooth talking vampire serial killer with a Cajun accent in the game until he showed up. He really reminds me of Anton Chigurh in all of the best ways. As usual, the art is great. One little detail I love is the wall slide animation, which creates sparks from his claws. Drifter's abilities feel impactful and good to use on a visual level. However, functionally he seems very bare bones, which isn't exactly a bad thing. You know, I was really hoping that we could go one hero patch without any hero standing out above the rest, but of course this is why we cannot have nice things. Drifter is just too strong in my opinion. With some heroes, who have a very high skill cap, it's less evident how strong they are until later down the road when people get very good at them. I expect Doorman and Paige to be examples of this, and as they exist for longer, they will probably be much harder to deal with as people get better at them. But Drifter is not the case. Any moron with a pulse can hop on Drifter and top score with 0 effort. He's just a plain, stupid hero. With any other hero, there's good counterplay and ways to defend yourself even if you are behind. With Drifter, if you're caught out alone, you are as good as dead, unless you are playing someone like Pocket or Doorman. I know this is supposed to be the point, but I can still say I don't think it's fun. I have found myself several times just trying to farm to recover souls when behind like I always have with no issue. Then a Drifter comes along and just obliterates me within 2 seconds. I just have to sit there and watch my character be torn into 1,000 pieces because I'm not allowed to play the video game anymore for existing in the wrong spot. I've heard people say stuff like, oh, well, just don't be alone. But I can't jungle and drag a buddy with me just to not die. If Deadlock's matchmaking is now going to be a dice roll to see which team is allowed to farm jungle and who has the buddy system for safety, that fucking sucks! Drifter is a fun hero to play. His kit is coherent and works as intended. I just don't like the concept of him on a fundamental level. In scrims and while stacked, Drifter doesn't feel that bad because you can coordinate all 6 players on your team to track his location. But in pubs, he just becomes the server admin. I might be alone on this, but this is just my opinion and my definition of fun. Maybe I'm in the minority and I'm just some freak who doesn't know what he's talking about, but I would like to imagine I'm not. Let's just move on to last hero added. While designing a hero around the concept of killing people by walking at them isn't exactly the most interesting or compelling baseline to start from, I think he is pretty well rounded. He was definitely way too strong at launch and still has a ways to go. His health management aspect feels really similar to Lady Geist, while not just recycling her concepts. Character wise, he's very cool. His design is great as always, and the voice lines are very fitting. I do think he's a bit overtuned and can just steamroll people by existing, but I think this can be fixed with some numbers adjustments. We will have to wait and see, but I think he will most likely fill similar roles to Abrams and Warden in most regards, but he still feels very unique and more composed of fresh and new ideas than recycled and used ideas, ironically. I've shared everything I wanted to already, so if you liked the video, press all the buttons, and thank you for watching.